Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Estate Fix. I'm your host, Rich Szerman on KHTS, FM 98.1, AM 1220, your hometown station. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. Happy New Year to all of you. Here we are, the 3rd of January. I hope you guys had a good Christmas vacation, a good Christmas holiday, and an even better New Year's, I hope. I had a great one. Hope you guys did as well. I'm here today to talk to you about all things real estate, as we always do, and it's our first show of the new year. So as it's always we do with every first show of the new year, kind of a tradition around here. We're going to go over today sort of kind of where the market's at, because we do that every week. And we're going to go over some of the stuff that I do in my office that's kind of special, and so to give you, Real Estate Fix, we're all about fixing problems. That's what we do. Fixing problems is where the name of the show came from, kind of the purpose for the show. So we're going to talk all about free money to buy a house, free money to sell a house, because we will literally give you money to buy a house, and we will give you money to sell a house, which is usually helpful for most people, and how to prevent your house from going to foreclosure, and how to fight your house to keep your house if it is in foreclosure or having some problems with it. Because that's what we do. That's what I do in my office. That's what we do on the show. That's kind of my thing here, is fixing real estate problems, because real estate is the largest single investment most people make. It is the roof that keeps the rain off your head. It is where you raise your kids. It is et cetera, all those things. And most importantly, it is the single biggest and best investment most people have. Even people who do not think they have investments, who own a house, have an investment. And we know that in order to retire in this time in this place, I'm 53 years old. I'm looking at retiring in the next 10, 15, maybe 20 years at some point. I like my job, so I'm looking to retire. But when I do, it's going to be nice because I'll have some equity in a house that I'm going to need to be able to retire. And I think that's true of everybody. And if you do not have equity in a house, or you're not building equity in a house, I wish you the best of luck when you have to retire. And that's becoming harder and harder to do now, because affordability is what it is. But let's talk about where we're at the real estate market. Here we are, the first week in January. So let's talk about the December numbers. In December, pretty decent news, nothing really huge surprise. But for resale property in the Santa Clarita Valley in December of 2024, the market snapshot is as follows. The median sales price is now $817,000. That's townhouses, condos, everything residential combined. The median sales price in our area is $817,000, was $779 last month. That's up $38,000 on average, and that's up 6% year to year. Now, keep in mind that's a bit of an aberration, because the numbers have been so low overall. There have been so many fewer houses selling in general that one or two, good-sized houses can run that number up a lot, or one or two really cheap houses can run that number down a lot. So keep that in mind. Also in December, there's less activity as well. So each individual one seems to have a much larger, has an outsized effect on the averages. So 817 is our average median. 880 for single-family homes. That's up 45,000 from last month. 880,000 is the average single-family home in Santa Clarita now, up from 835 last month, and that's up 4% year over year. And let's see, for condos and townhomes, that's 615,000 is the median. 615,000. That's up 50K from last month. And that is way too big a jump to take in 1 month. And I think the reason for that is we had a couple that were more expensive that sold, a couple of really nice ones in the Summit that sold, and I think that's really what pushed it over the edge townhouse-wise. But yeah, 615. Now here are the fun numbers. These are the ones that are a little bit more disturbing, and frankly the ones you should pay a little bit more attention to, I think, because they have more weight. The number of new listings on the market in December is down to only 152, down from 201 the previous month. So that's 49 less than November and December, which again, some of that's to be understandable. It's the holiday, but nobody wants to put their house on the market over the holiday if they have a choice. But I don't think we're going to see as massive a rebound as we would like in January, but we'll see. Yeah, down to 152 new listings, 493 active listings. That's a total number of listings available on the market in the residential sphere in Santa Clarita. 493 total. That's down from 608 the month prior. And that's down 115 properties. So there are 115 properties less on the market in December than there were in November. And that is not a good sign. And a little bit better, the number of pending sales went 105 this last month, down from 151 the previous month. That's down 46 units from the month prior. And the number of closed sales, which is probably the biggest meter you want to look at, while it is up 22% year over year, December of 2024 versus 2023, it is still only 197 sales, which sounds like a lot until you think about how many people we have living in the valley now, 400,000 or 500,000. 197 is not a lot, and it's down 46 from the month prior. So in order to get a better feel for our numbers, I always like to look at the San Fernando Valley, because it's a much, much larger market, about 10 times the size of the Santa Clarita Valley. as far as the real estate market there. And it's much the same story there, a little bit of difference, but the same story there. The average median for the single-family homes, townhouses, everything, the average keep a roof over your head to buy a house in the San Fernando Valley is up to $950,000. That's up 9% year over year and up $40,000 from the month prior. The average single-family home in the San Fernando Valley is up to $1,075,000. That's up $55,000 from the month prior to $1,075,000. The average condo, $585,000, and that's up $15,000 from the month prior. Now, please be aware when I talk about up from the month prior, don't assume that condos went up $15,000 in one month, because the prior month in November of 2024, the average median sales price for a condo in the San Fernando Valley was down $40,000. So the fact that it's up 15 still leaves us down 25. Overall. Now, again, those big numbers, number of new listings in the San Fernando Valley, 512. That's it. That's 244 fewer listings than in November. That is a dangerous number. That's more than just seasonally adjusted. That is a trend, and that's worrisome because that's bucking the national trend, which is to see more listings come up. So we'll see what January has to hold. 1,613 active listings total in the San Fernando Valley. That's down 567 from the month before. And the month before was down 196 from the month prior to that, 196 total units. So that is a lot. That's a 25%, 30% drop in a single month, and that's way, way, way too much. Pending sales, 417,000 in the month of December in the San Fernando Valley, and that's down 34 from the month prior. And the number of closed sales, the single biggest number, 690 sales closed in the entire San Fernando Valley, and that's 76 more in December than closed in November. And I think a lot of that's because of the interest rate wiggle we had in November that helped. So that's relatively good stuff. So what is the market doing? Well, like I've been telling you, if you're a regular listener to the show, and I hope you are, and if you're new, welcome. Please feel free to start listening. We always like to have people listen, call in, participate. It's a participatory kind of a thing around here. But where are we going? We have more houses coming to the market. So I think we're going to see a decent rebound in January, but not as much as we would like as far as the number of properties coming to the market. And houses prices are staying fairly stable. I personally think they're going to come down 1 or 2%, maybe as much as 3% over the course of 2025. But I'm in the minority there, so I think everyone else is saying they're liable to go up. I disagree. I think they're going to stabilize and go down a little bit, but we will see what happens. And so, yeah, that's really the name of the game right now is we have more inventory coming to market. We're still at historical lows. We have way fewer houses on the market than we did pre-pandemic. And that number's not going to get fixed anytime soon, but it is beginning to improve. And that's kind of where we're at. So we're seeing more houses come to market. The interest rate is still governing everything, and it is still bouncing around in the high 6s, some cases even low 7s. And we're hoping that it'll get down under 6%, because I do not believe we reach parity, reach normalcy in the real estate market, the kind of normalcy we had pre-pandemic, until after the interest rate gets down below and stays below 6%. The longer it stays above 6%, the harder it's going to be in the real estate market, because like it or not, the numbers tell the story. The real estate market is in recession. It just is. Now, it may not be in recession price-wise. So if you have a house to sell, it's okay. If you have a house to buy, affordability is the big word there. But the problem is there just aren't enough houses on the market, and that's what we're going to be facing for the rest of 2025 as well. Don't think it'll be as bad as 2024. Buyers will have more options in 2025 than they did in 2024. But the name of the game is still not enough inventory. It just isn't. We're off, as far as the volumes, we're off by nearly 40% in 2024. Now, I don't know what industry you may be in, listeners, but whatever your job is, whatever industry you're involved with, there aren't too many industries that can survive 40% fewer customers over the course of 1 year. Not to mention, we've had fewer ever since the pandemic started. We've had fewer people buying houses. We've had fewer houses on the market. So the volume is way down and the prices are up. And that is a dangerous recipe that will not hold. Affordability enters into it. You get to a point very quickly where you don't have enough buyers buying the houses, and there aren't enough houses out there to buy. And that's kind of where we're at. So there is a real estate recession underway right now. If you know somebody who's a realtor, give them a hug, buy them a cup of coffee. I mean, it's rough sledding for anyone in the business now. Realtors, lenders, escrow people, title people, anyone who's involved or directly involved with real estate, resale especially, is just hurting and have been for the last several years. And probably 2025 will be better than 2024, but it's still going to be rough sledding. So let's talk about some of the other predictions we talked about last time as well. I wanted to bring this one back to the fore. NAR, the National Association of Realtors, their predictions for 2025. And I'm just going to read you through the hard data here. According to NAR, their 2025 prediction for existing home sales is they think they'll be up 7 to 12%. Now, keep in mind, NAR's job is to, blow sunshine up our skirt, because they're NAR, they're the National Association of Realtors, and they're a trade union, and their job is to say everything's fine, especially when it's not. So they think 7 to 12% increase in home sales nationwide. I hope they're right. It needs to be closer to 20 to 30%, or better yet, 40% in our area to get back to normalcy. But anything that's a positive number, we'll take at this point. And they think in 2026, that number is going to go up 10 to 15%. So 7 to 12%, and this is volume. This isn't price. This is volume. How many houses are being sold? How many units are being sold nationwide? They figure 7 to 12% increase nationwide as number of houses sold in 2025, and 10 to 15% increase in 2026. So let's all cross our fingers and hope they're right. I'd like to see 20 to 30 to 40% increase. But, anything that's a positive number we'll take at this point. Now, as far as new home sales, that's the one bright shining spot in the market so far, because where home sales, where new houses can be built, they are being built. We just still need more of them. They predict for 2025 there'll be 11% more new home sales than in 2024. And in 2026, they see that model going down to 8%. These are the good folks at NAR, the National Association of Realtors. So again, take these with a grain of salt, because it's their job to find the bright side of life. With the housing market. Median home price 2025 and 2026. NAR is predicting the national median home price will go up 2%, which is next to nothing, 2% in 2025, and another 2% in 2026, which would bring the median home price, which is staggering given what our prices are in the United States, to $410,700 for an average home. Whereas, again, as we just talked about, the average home in Santa Clarita is $808,000, and the average home in the San Fernando Valley is $1,075,000. So not the same on the West Coast as it is in probably the Midwest and some of these other areas where the median sales price is $410,000. They expect that number to go up to $420,000 in 2026. So we'll see. Mortgage rates, the big one, the biggest number on the board here. 2025, they just say near 6%. Which isn't much of a prediction, but okay, near 6%. And they say for 2026, near 6%. So I'm hoping that they're wrong. I'm hoping that that interest rate gets under 6%, because we desperately need it to get under 6% to reach some sort of normalcy. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon. And they figure job gains 2025 and 2026, they figure will go up 2 million jobs per year, for a total of 4 million jobs at the end of 2026. Now, I hope they're right about those job numbers, but it's kind of hard to believe that we're going to have that kind of job growth through 2025 and through 2026. But that is what they are predicting. So let's hope that NAR is correct, because we need to see more houses come to the market. We need to see more volume sold. We need to see more houses bought and sold. We need more. The industry is just dying. The average person would buy and sell a house every 7 years in Southern California. That number drops to 3 years with first-time buyers. Those numbers are going to be doubled now because of what we went through the pandemic and the super low interest rate, now the super high interest rate. And when I'm asked how we got here, which I get asked a lot, and where did it go off the rails, because it definitely did. And it wasn't the pandemic that did it. What got us off the rails was the Fed. The Fed, in my opinion, made a gigantic mistake, which they're compounding now. What the Fed did was, I'll put it to you this way. Anytime you see a headline about the Federal Reserve that has the word unprecedented in the first sentence, we have a problem. What the Fed did in reaction to the pandemic was artificially cut interest rates, slash and burn interest rates, because they were worried about the economy. And what happens when you do is you create a breeding ground for inflation, which is exactly what happened. And because the Fed was way too slow to raise the interest rate back to any sort of normality, and they kept it as low as they did for as long as they did, the storm was open. The storm is past. You can open the shutters now. The storm has passed. But the Fed didn't want to do that. They kept the shutters closed. They kept the interest rate down much longer than they should have, probably 6 months to a year longer than they should have. Inflation took hold, and now they're fighting inflation by raising the interest rate. And it's gotten so out of hand that even when the Fed has been cutting the interest rate, which has been done all year long here in 2024, has cut the prime rate, which is good, still hasn't really affected the mortgage interest rate. It's continued to go up. It's continued to hover around 7%. If you time it right, you can get down around 6%. Right now, we're bouncing between 6 and 7% pretty regularly. And I lay all of that at the foot of the Fed. They made a mistake. They let themselves get politicized. They overreacted to the pandemic in a massive way, and they kept those rates way too low. And that has created a phenomenon in real estate that I hadn't seen in the 30 years I've been doing this, but it's a new phenomenon. It's affecting everybody. We've talked about it before. It's called the lock-in effect. And I think the two biggest things that are going to affect the housing market, mortgages included, going forward for 2025, the two most important things, the lock-in effect for sellers, which I'll talk about in a minute, and the affordability challenges for buyers. So it's affordability for buyers because the interest rates are just too darn high, houses are just too expensive, and it's the lock-in effect for sellers, people who do not want to sell. So affordability, this is a report that Fannie Mae just put out about a week ago. According to the December 2024 commentary from Fannie Mae, the Economic and Strategic Research Group, the ESR, Fannie Mae's ESR, the Economic and Strategic Research Group, ESR if you want to sound cool, to the, I don't know who sounds cool saying this stuff, but anyway, according to them, affordability and the so-called lock-in effect are expected to keep housing activity subdued in 2025, with existing home sales forecast to move only slightly upward from recent multi-decade lows. The broader economy is expected to remain on solid footing and expand at an above-trend pace through 2026 as it navigates elevated core inflationary pressure and heightened policy uncertainty, which is a very fancy economist way of saying the economy as a whole is going to be okay. We're pretty strong as a whole. Jobs are good. Inflation is starting to come down. We're in pretty good shape as an economy. However, that does not extend to the housing market because of the lock-in effect, which we were talking about. Lock-in effect is, just to give you a better definition of it, the lock-in effect is people like me. I have a house that we should have sold last year, maybe this year, but I have no intention of selling it because I have an interest rate that is below 3%. And there is no way I'm ditching my sub 3% interest rate to go into a mortgage at 6.5%. If I were to buy this is why, if I were to buy my same house back today, my mortgage payment would triple. Simply because of the interest rate. Because I'm below 3% now, and I'd be walking into a 6.5 to 7% interest rate. And I'm not real anxious to triple my interest rate, or triple my mortgage payment. It's hard enough with the way insurance has gone up, which has gone through the roof, and everything else. I'm not in a position where I can triple my interest rate. Most people aren't. I keep saying interest rate. Triple my mortgage payment. Most people can't. So that is the lock-in effect. So as part of this outlook, Fannie Mae's economists shared 5 predictions for the housing market in 2025. They expect 1. Average mortgage rates will decline modestly but remain above 6% with likely bouts of volatility. When they say likely bouts of volatility, that means if you time it right, you might get something under 6%. So the goal there is if you're a buyer, right now this is the best advice I can give you if you're a buyer, get ready. Get yourself pre-qualified, get yourself in a position, do a little looking, kind of get a feel for what you want, and then wait to take your shot. Because the interest rates are going to bounce around. The Trump administration coming in, whether you like it, whether you hate it, doesn't really matter. The one thing you can say about Trump as a politician is he is unstable. You do not know what he's going to do from day to day because he says all sorts of things, and some things he does and some things he doesn't. He goes backwards and forwards all the time. And without the ability to predict what's coming out of the White House, there are a lot of good things that come with unpredictability as well. But without predict the economic news coming out of the White House, or economic goals coming out of the White House, we're really not sure how that's going to go. So there's going to be volatility in the interest rate that are caused by that and a number of other things overseas. Wars tend to make for unstable economies as well. So keep that in mind. So I think you're going to see it bouncing around. My hope is it bounces between 6 and 6.5 for a while, and every so often dips below 6. That's my hope. We'll see what happens. So if you're a buyer, get yourself ready because you need to get your shot lined up, and when the time is right, take your shot. And that's a combination of what's available in the marketplace when you find the house that you like, what your life dictates, and where the interest rate's at. But get yourself in that position so that you're ready to take advantage of it when it drops. Because when it drops, it's not going to be dropped for long. We dropped to 6% flat for about a week, and then went right back up to 6.5, and now we're closer to 7. So if you took advantage in that week, you did very well. Also, a lot of the federal programs that come out, a lot of the funding ones don't last long. The California Dream program, which is great through HAFA, which is fantastic, home affordability group in California, CalHAFA, fantastic program. But if you were not already in line to buy a house and you were not pre-qualified, you were not going to be able to get that program. So kind of a big deal. Anyway, number 2, existing home sales will remain near 30-year lows, but location matters. Depends where you are, but we're going to have that problem. We're going to be near 30-year lows all year long. New home sales will remain a bright spot in the housing market where they can be built. Number 4, national home price growth will decelerate. It's not going up the way it has. I don't think it's going to go. I think it's going to go down a little bit, but it's certainly not going to go up the way it has. A couple percentage points at most up, or a couple percentage points down. In our area, it's going to stay relatively stable and I think go down a little bit. Number 5, multifamily housing will remain in a holding pattern. Now, according to Mark Pollum, the Fannie Mae Senior Vice President and Chief Economist, from an affordability perspective, we think 2025 will look a lot like 2024 with mortgage rates above 6%. Home price growth easing from recent highs, but staying positive, and they're still going to go upward. And supply remaining well below pre-pandemic levels. Still heightened mortgage rates volatility may present opportunities, which we were just talking about, for would-be homeowners to take advantage of the temporary lows, and we may see stretches where housing activity is boosted by lower rates. But on average, we expect mortgage rates to remain elevated and a hindrance to activity. However, they expect the affordability crunch hampering activity through the forecast may loosen a little bit because of wage growth. They think jobs are going to dig us out of this, and I just don't think that's going to be it. Wage growth is not going to get us out of this. We're going to go to break here in a minute. When we come back, we're going to talk about some numbers and why I don't think wage growth is going to get it done, certainly not here in Southern California. But I'm your host, Rich Szerman. You're listening to The Real Estate Fix on KHTS, your hometown station, FM 98.1, AM 1220. Listen to the break. When we come back, we're going to talk about all the things that I do. We're going to talk about free money, how to defend your house from foreclosure, how to get free money to sell a house, how to get free money to buy a house. Free money. You're going to want to listen to this part. Hello, everybody. Thank you for listening to the break. You're listening to The Real Estate Fix. I'm your host, Rich Szerman, on KHTS, FM 98.1, AM 1220, your hometown station. And thank you guys for listening through the break. For those of you just tuning in, you tuned in at the right time because we're talking about market stuff and kind of getting everybody hip to where we're at. First show of the new year, we always like to go over kind of where we start every show with kind of where we're at in the market because that's the important stuff as to what the market's doing so you can hopefully get a feel for what your house is worth and if you're into real estate investing, where that's going to go. But let's talk about the stuff, the fun stuff, the free stuff. We literally give away money in my office. We do it all the time. And one of the reasons I do a radio show, one of the reasons I think it was offered a radio show, was because we do stuff that is, in my office, that is very, very unique. Other real estate companies they just don't do stuff like this. I suppose they could if they wanted to, but I don't think there's any will. So there are three things that we do that nobody else does. The first one is we will give you money to buy a house. If you're looking to buy a house and affordability is a problem, we can help fix that problem. If you're looking to sell a house, again, same story. Your house has to look its best to get top dollar because there are more houses coming to market. We can fix that. And we defend people from foreclosure and fix all manner of real estate problems, probate, all sorts of stuff all the time. So let's get into that. Here at The Real Estate Fix, we're all about solving your real estate problems. That's what we've been doing for over 33 years now. And if I haven't seen it before, and I probably have, whatever your problem is, I've probably seen it. But if I haven't, I know who to talk to and get you the answers you need to be able to understand, plan, and ultimately fix your real estate problem. See how I did a fix there with the name of the show, so I made that work in the copy. It's very exciting. Anyway, the three biggest problems Southern California real estate, in my opinion, will be facing in 2024 are, number one, homes are harder to buy and less affordable now than at any time in the last generation. According to the California Housing Affordability Tracker from the Legislative Analysis Office of the California Legislature, the average, this is Sacramento talking to us, the average buyer in Southern California now needs to be making an average annual income of about $221,000. For those of you playing at home, that's $18,000 to $19,000 a month, to qualify for a typical home, which is well over 2 times higher than the median household income in the rest of the country. Now, in my office, to help combat that, if you're looking to buy a house, especially if you're a first-time buyer, we literally will give you money to combat that problem. We will give you money to buy a house, help you buy a house. We're going to get into the specifics of that a little bit later. Number two, because more inventory is returning to the market, if you want to get top dollar for your home, it needs to be a deal. It needs to be special. It needs to be ready. We will put money into your home for free. Think about that. Think about what I just said. I will put money, my office, we will put money into your home for free. You don't pay it back. We literally will put money into your house to get it ready for sale. And your home for sale, and work with other people you recommend or contractors or handymen that we have, either way, whichever is better, to get your home looking its best. And here's the simple thing with that program. Homes in the best shape sell the quickest and for the most amount of money. Every day I have to hold a house in inventory costs me money. So the quicker it gets sold, the better it is for me, the better it is for the seller. And if we put a couple of bucks into the property so it sells for a lot more money, that's not a bad thing. And again, it's our money. You don't pay it back. You literally do not pay it back. Number three, because of the pandemic, the economy is shifting and many people are being hurt in that shift. If you're having trouble affording your current mortgage, we can help. You may be eligible to qualify for loan modification or the loss mitigation efforts in your lender or loan servicer. You may be able to refinance or obtain an emergency bailout loan to stabilize your situation. You may need to take your lender to court. We routinely defend clients from foreclosure and other real estate problems like probate, divorce, tax sales, and many, many, many other real estate calamities. And again, we do it for free. So those of you tuned in, please listen. If you're going to buy a house, we will give you money to help you buy a house. If you're going to sell a house, we will put money into your house to fix up your house so it sells for top dollar. And if you're having trouble keeping your house, we will help defend you. We will help keep you in your house. That's probably what we do the most of. The buying and selling and the commissions we make doing that is what pays for doing all the other free stuff. And how we can afford to give you money to buy a house and give you money to sell a house and that sort of stuff. So this is a core belief with me, and I'm a very put my money where my mouth is kind of a guy. So we do that. We do it all the time. We've got a lot of money out in houses right now, and it'll all come back as houses get sold. It'll be fine. But yeah, you don't pay us back. We'll put on your house to get it sold. We'll get it fixed up for you. Use your contractors, my contractor, whatever you want to do. Put money into your house to get it sold. If you want to buy a house, we'll give you money to buy a house. So let's talk about free money to buy a house, because we get that a lot. Free money to buy a home. Housing costs have grown more quickly than wages. Remember we were talking about earlier, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, they all think wages are going to save us? It's not going to happen. Not in this part of the world anyway. Since January 2020, California housing costs, especially the cost to purchase a home, have grown much faster than California wages. For example, and these are the numbers, from January 2020 to September 2024, the growth in monthly payments for a mid-tier home in Los Angeles County have gone up 75%. to approximately $6,000 per month. What do you think about that? The average mortgage in Southern California right now, over the last 4 years, is $6,000 a month. I bought my first house in 1991. My payment was $1,400 a month, and I thought that was a lot. $6,000 would have made my head explode. $6,000 a month. Why people aren't selling houses if they have low interest rates? The bottom tier homes have increased by 80% to approximately $4,000 a month. So 75% on mid-tier homes, 80% on lower tier homes. That's not sustainable. So for lower tier homes, the approximate monthly mortgage payment right now is $4,000 a month. Rents have also grown more quickly than wages. Over the same period, rents grew by 34% to an average of approximately $3,000 per month. This has exceeded growth in average hourly wages in the area because they've only gone up 22% a month for the same period. So wages go up 22%, but your rent goes up 34%. Wages go up 22%, but your cheap house has gone up 80% to $4,000 a month. Wages have gone up 22%. Your more expensive houses, suburbia, where most of the stuff we're talking about in Santa Clarita here, had gone up 75% to $6,000 a month. 75% rise in average mortgage payments in the Santa Clarita Valley over the last 4 years. Let that sink in a minute. What else has gone up? Has your income gone up 75% in the last 4 years, Santa Clarita? I don't think so. Mine certainly has, and I doubt yours has. So this cannot hold. And the answer here is not job growth. The answer here is a lower interest rate. And you know what the Fed did is they lopped off one section of the economy and let it burn in order to save other sections of the economy. Well, now it's time for housing to rebound. So it's time for other sections of the economy to burn at the Fed's wave of their wand. You got to get into housing. You got to get these interest rates down. Until that happens, we got a problem. So most people don't have enough money to buy a home or enough money to pay the mortgage if they do have a home, and we can help fix that. We will give you 10% of the rent you have previously paid to buy a house. So if you're renting, for example, at $3,000 a month, which is kind of the average in our area, actually the average is $4,000 a month. That'd be a little on the low side. If you're paying $3,000 a month, we can help you. $3,000 a month, you've been there for 2 years, let's say. That means you've given your landlord $72,000. It's money you could have been put into a house that you own. Could have been building equity with that $72,000. But you gave your landlord $72,000. We give you 10% of that. That's $7,200. It's literally $7,000 to go buy a house. That should be helpful. Now, if you're paying more than that, you're paying $4,000 a month. Over 24 months, over 2 years, you've given your landlord $96,000. Let that sink in. $96,000 over 2 years you've given your landlord. And if you're paying $4,000 a month and you've been there for 2 years, you're paying $96,000. You paid $96,000. We can give you $9,600 of that 10%. We can give it to you back. Here's $9,600. Let's go buy a house. Excuse me. So it's helpful. I mean, money helps everything in Southern California. I think money helps everything in society. But certainly when it comes to buying and selling a house, money is the key. So a lot of people can't afford a house. They can't afford to buy a house. They can't figure out how to get into it. We can help. Because when we give you that money, it's funny. I've had clients use that money. Most people use it for closing costs, but it's real money. You can use it for whatever you want. As long as it be charged to escrow, you can use this money. Most people use it for closing costs. A lot of people are using it lately for an interest rate buy down. Some people use it for carpet, paint, and in one very, very funny case, and you know who you are if you're listening, a very nice clawfoot jacuzzi bathtub. One of the strangest things anybody's ever used that money for, but God bless, and I'm sure she's still enjoying her bathtub. But we got a client right now who came to me September of last year. My mom made me come talk to you, but I can't possibly buy a house, but she said you go. Anyway, he's in a house right now. He just closed escrow. Condo. He just bought his first condo over on American Beauty, which we gave him, I think, $6,000 or $7,000 to be able to do it because he was renting pretty high. And now he owns a house. So a couple of years from now, he'll have a lot of equity in that house. He did pretty well going into it, but he'll have about 10% equity by the end of this year. Even the market remains normal because he bought it below market, which is the idea. But now he'll have a house that he can actually do something with. Now he'll be in the equity game. You got to get in the game. And the younger you get in, the better off you are. And it's never too late. I mean, if you're 60, I'll figure out a way to do it for you because we solve these problems. That's just what we do. So literally 10% of the rent you've already paid back to go buy a house. I think that's pretty good. Here's literally, and it's free money. You don't pay it back. We just give it to you. So if you're looking to buy a house sometime next year, you might want to give me a call. My number shows up all over the place. You can get a hold of me anytime you'd like. But my cell phone, this is my private cell phone. It's my personal cell phone. You reach me at this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's off now because I'm on the air. But that number is 661-714-1400. Again, 661-714-1400. You can call me at that number 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If I don't answer because I'm doing a radio show or sleeping or taking a shower or talking to another client or something, leave a message. Or better yet, send me a text. Send me, it might always return text quicker. Send me a text and I'll get right back to you. Again, free money. I don't know how my phone isn't lighting up right now. Free money to buy a house. 661-714-1400. And it's not insignificant money. It's, 10% of the rent you've already paid. So it could be up to $10,000. 661-714-1400. Free money to buy a house. So that's how we fix the affordability problem, at least how we fight the affordability problem for people looking to buy a house. Let's talk about selling a house. Free money to sell a house. That comes up a lot too. Right now, more inventory is returning to the market. We are nowhere near pre-pandemic levels. We won't be for some time, but every day that goes by, we are seeing more and more homes coming to the market. If the typical number of houses in your neighborhood available for sale at any given time would ordinarily be about 10 houses, now that number is approximately 5 houses, which does not seem like much, except a year ago that number would have been 2 to 3 houses. So that's what I say. When I say more houses are coming to the market, that's how bad it's been. We were down as far as available properties about 70 to 80% in some areas. Now that number is going to be down about 50%. So it's still not anywhere near normal, but 50% is way better. You still have a lot more houses. You have 20 to 30% more houses to look at a 50% number than you do at a 20 or 30% number. So it is getting better, but it's going to be a slow road. So because of that, because there is more competition for sellers right now, to sell a house for top dollar in the current environment, your home needs to be a deal. It needs to stand out. It needs to be the best one in your neighborhood, which usually takes money and expertise, and we can help you with both. We can give you up to 1% of the projected sales price, and again, you do not pay this back. Free money. We will give you up to 1% of the projected sales price of the property to sell the house. I've got one right now where the flooring was atrocious, frankly disgusting. They hadn't changed the carpets in the 1970s. Really bad. Otherwise, nice house. So we ripped out the carpets. We put in hardwood floors or laminate, so it looks like hardwood. It's very nice. And we painted the whole place, and now it's worth a lot more money. So there's all kinds of stuff we can do that for you. So literally, we will give you money. How's my phone not lighting up? We will give you money to sell a house as well, up to 1%. So if the average sales price for a house is around $900,000, that's $9,000 we will give you to put into your house. And if you don't want to put it to your house, just take it out of commission or whatever. We'll give it to you however you want it. But we'll literally give you money to fix up your house for sale. Houses in the best shape sell the quickest and for the most money, which is very, very good for you as the consumer. It's also good for your realtor. Common cause. So if we put a couple of bucks into a house, that's fine. I'll tell you a quick story with one. I love telling stories. We just put $9,000 into a property in Oxnard that was appraised before I got there. It was appraised at $830,000 less than a month ago. We put a little over $9,000 in the course of 2 weeks into the property. It sold in a day. And it sold for $925,000. So think about that. They had an appraisal at $830,000. We put $9,000 into the house and sold it for $925,000. Because we put $9,000 into the property, they just made a $95,000 profit more than they thought they would. $95,000 it sold for. $95,000 it sold for overappraised amount, and all we do is put $9,000 into the house. That's a 10-to-1 ratio. That's pretty good. It's a pretty good return on investment, and they don't pay it back. We just absorb the loss. It's not a big deal. So yeah, the homeowner doesn't pay it back. It is free money, and you can make a lot of money with this stuff. It's very, very good stuff. It's important. So on a larger scale, we represent another property right now that was going to foreclosure. It was a reverse mortgage. We got to the end. We were about 48 hours away from foreclosure. No way to refinance it. The bank would not pull up. They had equity in the property. It was all going to be lost. So we tried everything. We couldn't find a way to save it long enough to get it sold. Families wanted it sold prior to the foreclosure. Nothing worked, no help on the horizon. With 48 hours left before it went to foreclosure, and they would have lost about $100,000 in equity, we simply raised the funds and paid off the loan ourselves. We just went back to the bank, which this one was PHH. They're awful people. And we went back to them and we just said, okay, you're going to foreclose on this house, and PHH thinks you're going to grab about $100,000 worth of equity. Yeah, I don't think so. Here's a check. We raised the funds. We didn't send them a check. We sent them a wire. We wired it to the bank. We paid off the loan. Now, they still have a loan on the property, but nobody's foreclosing, and now they have the opportunity, they have the time to get the property fixed up and sold for top dollar, which it will. It's available right now. It's over in Friendly Valley if you're interested. A little 2-bedroom, 2-bath, kind of 1.5 baths. Nice place. But yeah, we know it's going to sell, and it's going to sell for the amount it should sell, and the family that owns it, who inherited it, is going to make money on it, whereas they would not have. They would have lost the house, and all of the equity in it would have been gone to foreclosure. We were within 48 hours of a foreclosure sale before we got this solved. So sometimes it's getting the lender to play ball. Sometimes it's getting the back office. You can do this. Sometimes you use the law to do it. And sometimes we just got to write a check. And that's what we do. We'll get our money back when the house gets sold. It'll be fine. They'll pay back the debt. And more importantly, the family involved will get the equity out of the house that they need. Not want, need. So that's just the world we live in. So yeah, so free money to sell a house. Again, my phone number is 661-714-1400. Again, 661 714-1400. That is my private cell, my personal cell. That is my real cell phone. You call, I love when people call and they heard me on the radio and they call me up and I answer. They're always shocked. Oh, I can't believe you're... No, it's really my cell phone number. It's fine. And if I'm busy doing something, send me a text. Leave me a message. I'll call you back, I promise. You may have to leave a couple of messages, send a couple of texts, but I'll get to you. I will. But when you're giving away free money, it does tend to make your phone ring. Actually, I'm kind of surprised. Look at my phone now. I'm surprised it's not going off. Well, a little bit. I'm surprised it's not going off more now because I just told you we will give you money to buy a house. We will give you money to sell a house. No offense to the other agents out there, but I think it's a pretty good deal. I think it's a better deal than most real estate companies, most realtors can offer you. So again, to buy a house, we will give you money. To sell a house, we will give you money. If you want to know what the limits are, what you can do, or what we can do for you, just give me a call at that cell phone number. I'll tell you about it in the first 5 minutes. It's not a big deal. And again, it's not musical chairs. It's not a shell game. It's not 3-card Monte. It's real money. The only caveat is it has to be something you charge to escrow. As far as the buying part, and as far as the selling part, you can do whatever you want with the money. We want to put it into the house so you get more money out of the house. That is the goal. Again, we spent $9,000 on that house in Oxnard and it sold for $95,000 more than projected. I think that's pretty good. Maybe I'll have the seller come on just to tell you, because they were pretty happy with that arrangement. They thought it was fantastic. So I tell you what, we're going to end the show today talking about foreclosure defense. So I've given you the fun stuff. I gave you the good stuff. I gave you the free money to buy a house. I gave you the free money to sell a house. Again, I cannot say this enough. Free money. You will find going through life, you very rarely get the opportunity to be handed free money. Unless you play the lottery a lot and won a few times, you don't typically get free money. This is literally free money. Now, you got to use it to buy a house, or you got to use it to sell a house. That is the business that I'm in. But we will literally give you money to do that. So I tell you what, let's go to our last break. And we come back, we're going to talk about foreclosure defense. So those of you who are buying a house or selling a house, your fun part of the show is over. Those of you who are defending a house from foreclosure or worried about losing a house in foreclosure, you're going to want to listen up to this third segment, because this is where it gets real important. We give you some tips that are going to help you out a lot as far as preventing a house from foreclosure. So let's go to a break. Let's listen to some of our advertisers. I'm Rich. This is the Real Estate Fix on KHTS, AM 1220, FM 98.1, your hometown station. And again, I'm Rich Szerman with the Real Estate Fix. Thanks, guys. Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. You've reached the Real Estate Fix. I'm your host, Rich Szerman. I'm sorry, Engineer Jen and I were just laughing because there is, as it is a radio station, it is a professional radio station, there is a clock in the booth. But for the 2 years I've been doing this, and by the way, I think they installed the clock for me because I used to come on in the morning and I was supposed to do 7-minute segments. I don't think I ever had a segment with Tori that was less than 12 or 15 minutes. Maybe one of the reasons they gave me a show. But the clock is always off. So your producer will tell you things like the hard out is, so you know when you have to be off the air, and the clock is always off. Sometimes today it's only off by 10 seconds. That's easy. Sometimes it's off by minutes. Sometimes there's an alarm that just goes off in the middle of the show for no apparent reason. It's fun. It's small town. I like it. I think it's fun, get hometown feel and all that. But anyway, let's get back on track. Let's talk about real estate. So, because that's what I'm here for. So we talked about free money to buy a house. We talked about free money to sell a house. We talked about the year that's coming up, 2025. Our last roughly 9 minutes here, I want to talk to you about foreclosure defense, because this is kind of near and dear to my heart. I see people in trouble all the time. That's going to become the basis of my practice. It has been for some time. My wife's a real estate attorney, and I have friends who are bankruptcy attorneys and probate attorneys and things like that. So we have legal representation for clients when they need it. I'm not an attorney, although people often think that I am. My mom loves it when people get confused, but I am not. My wife's the brains of the outfit. She's the one who went to law school. I held her purse while she was there. Anyway, so let's talk about foreclosure prevention. These are some things that you can do to get the ball rolling. Whenever somebody calls me up and they're in trouble, they're behind on a mortgage, they're afraid they're going to get behind on a mortgage, the protocol to get started is always the same for every single file. Now, every file is different and things change, but the first few steps are always the same. I want to teach you guys to do this so you know, because these are the first steps you take to defend yourself from foreclosure or anything else going on with a mortgage that puts your house under threat. The number one goal is, how do you put the lender's debt under threat? How do you make it harder for the lender to collect than just foreclose on you? Because, much like this Serengeti, if you're the wounded gazelle, you're the one that the line picks off. So don't be the wounded gazelle. First thing you want to do is you want to ask yourself, how do I make my lender's life more complicated? How do I make it harder for them to collect? Because they've damn sure made it harder for you. You got to figure out how to make it hard for them. And here's how you do it. Number one, you ask the servicer, your lender, for 4 things. Now, these are 4 things they must give you. It is the law on the topic. They must give you these 4 things, and they've got to do it within 30 days. So what you want to do is send in what's called a qualified written request. That just means you put it in writing. And I can give you some tips to do that too if you want to. But the 4 things you ask for. Number 1, a copy of the note. Prove that the debt exists. You're foreclosing on my house. You're claiming I owe you this money. Okay, it's not that I believe you or don't believe you. Prove it. You, the bank, you, the lender, you, the servicer, who's coming after me, have to prove you have the ability to do so. I don't need the deed. That's public. I can get that. I need the note. I need the document that created the debt. So you better have the note, because if you do not have the note, you're not collecting a mortgage. So produce the note. Prove that the debt exists. That's number one. Number two, I want to copy the accounting. I want to see every penny that was spent, backwards, forwards, every charge that was made, every penny that came in on this note that we now know exists, going back to the inception of the note. So number two, copy the accounting of the note back to the inception of the note. Prove that the amount you're claiming is correct, bank. We've made you prove that you have the debt. Fine. Now we need to prove that the amount you're claiming is correct. Produce the accounting. You guys remember tell the story we had on at the end of last year where they were missing 14 years worth of accounting and just expected us to accept it. It's 14 years missing, but we know it's, or sorry, there's 11 years missing. My apologies, I misspoke. 11 years. There's 11 years missing, but that's okay. We know it's the same. No, it's not. Produce the records or you don't get paid. That's the way this works. And if you can't produce the records, you don't have a valid debt you can collect on. And then it goes to the attorneys. So produce the accounting. Number three, copy of any and all assignments of the loan. Look, you may not have started with ABC Financial. You may have started with XYZ Financial, and ABC is now the one coming after you. They need to prove they have the ability. So first they have to produce the note to prove that the debt exists. Then you ask them to produce the account. You do this all in the same letter. Then you produce the accounting to prove that the amount they're claiming is correct. Then you got to produce all the assignments. Prove that you, XYZ Financial or ABC Financial, have the ability to collect on this debt. I see that you have the note. Wasn't originated with you guys. I see that you have the accounting. We'll go through it. Now I want to see the assignments. Prove to me and to my client that you have the ability to collect on this debt. And then the last thing to ask for, which is kind of a sort of you throw that in there because why not, is we ask for the contact information for the investor who owns the debt. Now, if it's a person, 100% success rate if I can talk to the person. But if it's a company or some sort of LLC or something, you never get to a person. It's just a name on a balance sheet. And that is what it is for most of these loans. But when you ask for the note, when you ask for the accounting, when you ask for all the assignments, and you ask for the owner of the note, you ask how to contact the investor, among other things, it puts the bank on notice. They got to behave themselves. You are not the wounded gazelle who's ready to get knocked down. You are the big, strong gazelle who's running at the head of the pack because they need to produce this information. If they do not do it within 30 days, it is a RESPA violation. It's also a violation in California of the Homeowner Bill of Rights. RESPA is federal, Homeowner Bill of Rights is state. So, and that is a violation. So, what do you do next? Once you have that information, we look for reversible error. If there's a mistake in the accounting, like an 11-year gap I was telling you about with that one client, you need to find it and exploit it. You go back to the bank in that case, hey, there's an 11-year error. Oh, yeah, we're sure it's right. Oh, are you? Well, I'm not. And unless you can produce that accounting, you need to strike all of the interest that was charged over those 11 years. Because you don't know if any money came in. You only know the interest rate, and you're claiming no money came in. Not good enough. We need to see it. And if you can't produce it, then you can't charge it. That's just the way it works. That's exactly what happened in that file. We managed to settle what happened to go to court, and they just reduced the amount that the client owed by quite a bit, almost half, because in that 11 years, they'd rolled up a heck of a lot in interest rates and service fees. Okay, so what do? Next thing you do is you take a very hard look at what is the equity position of the property. How much do you owe versus how much is the property worth? Are you right side up or are you upside down? If you are right side up, how much? What are they aiming for? What are they going after? How much equity do you have that is at risk? Very, very important you know that. Number four, what is the position of the liens? How many liens do you have and what is their position? Is this lien that's coming after you first? Is it a second? Is it a third? What is it? Is it a government loan or is it a conventional loan? They operate very differently. You need to know. If it's FHA, that's a very different way to defend yourself than if it's a conventional loan. A private loan. Is it a reverse mortgage? Reverse mortgages is our own breed of cat. They're a special sort of thing. So you need to know what the debt is. You need to know what your equity position is, know what the bank is going after, and you need to know what type of loan it is. What do we can't, I can't play the game. I can't field the ball unless I know the rules. And knowing what the mortgage is, that's what tells you the rules. And then after all that, you go back to the servicer and you say, okay, now I have all the information. Servicer, what options do I have? Not what do I need, not what do I want. Servicer, Bank of America, B of A, whoever your bank is, Ocwen I guess is now Onity. Whoever it is, what options do they have for you? And they have to tell you. That's the way that works. So that's where you start. That's how you do it. You ask for those four things. You look for reversible error. And then you take a look at what your equity position is. And then you take a look at what the position of the liens are, who's coming after you. And you put together a plan. That's what I do. I do it all day, every day, and I have for over 30 years. So if you need help with this kind of thing, give me a call. Again, I can be reached at 661-714-1400, and that is my personal cell phone, 661-714-1400. And you can call me at that number anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If I do not answer, send me a text. But if you have a house, you're looking to buy a house, we will give you free money to buy a house. If you're looking to sell a house, we'll give you money to sell a house. And if you're in trouble with your house, we will bail you out for free. All the things I just talked about are free. So thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it. Give me a call if you need help with any of those things, or all things real estate, or even something new. I love new stuff. Give me a call anytime. I'll help you fix your problems. It's what we do. We help people buy houses. We help people sell houses. We help people keep their homes.